Have you ever considered that your decisions to buy your watches might not have been entirely your own? Behind the scenes, the industry plays a much bigger role than most people realize. They're constantly manipulating what you like and pay attention to, and even when you feel the urge to buy. The industry has become extremely good at marketing, pricing strategy, influencer relationships, and even scarcity. And once you start noticing the signs, it becomes very difficult to ignore. So how exactly are watch brands pulling the strings and pushing you towards buying more without it even feeling like they are? It starts with something simple: getting you interested in the first place and manufacturing the desire for what they want to sell. Think about the last watch you bought. Where did you first see it? Chances are it wasn't on your own. You probably saw it online, a YouTube video, article, or forum post. These aren't neutral spaces. They're influenced directly by brands in a very careful way. For major releases, brands give publications and creators early access under embargo. So when their watch launches, your first impression is from a controlled group with the vested interest to maintain a specific tone and vibe. Take the recent Longines Hydro Conquest release. Suddenly, every major channel and watch creator was covering it, and pretty much all these early reviews were positive. I wasn't saying they were lying. They weren't necessarily told what to say by Longines. But when their preferential access depends on a good relationship with the brand, creators have a clear incentive to be excited and stay positive in their coverage of it. So right away, your first impression is shaped, even when it feels like it's coming from an unbiased source. The same applies at events like Watches and Wonders. It's essentially a massive advertising venture for the industry's most popular brands. Creators get early access through press passes, and in return, their coverage is overwhelmingly positive and complimentary. This year, I hardly heard anything about rising prices or affordability in early coverage from large channels, because that negativity risks their future access. And this gets even worse with smaller brands. Reviews are usually paid, or the reviewer gets to keep the watch at least. Obviously, there's a conflict of interest here when it comes to honesty. Again, they aren't lying, but the nature of the relationship absolutely changes the tone. Flaws are given the benefit of the doubt, and the content tends to focus on the uniqueness or strengths of the watch. A lot of these reviews are really just paid marketing that feels like genuine content, especially when it comes to niche models or micro brands, where a majority of the coverage of them you see on YouTube is sponsored. Almost everything you see about them is determined by the manufacturer's approval. And then this is where the algorithm comes in. Once you watch one video over a watch, you'll get recommended 10 more. Google begins to suggest articles covering it, and so on. Brands time their embargoes to take advantage of this, in order for people to keep seeing their watches pop up in their feeds. With this repeated exposure, you eventually start to feel that you discovered the watch on your own. In reality though, you were guided there, step by step. And the interesting part is, you don't even need to click on these videos. You just have to see them. And that's the key. The more you see something, the more you tend to like it. Not because you decided to, but because familiarity feels like preference. In psychology, this is known as the mere exposure effect, and it's an incredibly powerful mechanism companies exploit. Social media isn't the only channel they use either. Brands sponsor huge events, such as Omega at the Olympics. According to the IOC, the 2026 Winter Olympics average over 24 million viewers. This is an unparalleled level of brand awareness that Omega likely pays millions to achieve. Celebrities are another major one, and not just brand ambassadors. Watches worn at red carpet events aren't typically owned by those wearing them. They're loaned and carefully chosen by stylists, placed deliberately as part of a curated outfit for marketing. Behind the scenes, major brands can insert themselves into the cultural zeitgeist, often without you even noticing it. And over time, that recognition begins to become an association with success, taste, and status. It creates a desire. So now you're interested, you're aware of the brand, and you like the watch they're selling. But why would you choose it over others? That's where the marketing of perceived value comes in. If you're interested in analytical watch videos and commentary on the industry, consider subscribing to the channel. I upload a new video about watches every week on topics just like this one. We're nearly to our goal of 1,000 subscribers and becoming a YouTube partner. Joining us now can help us reach that. Thanks. Once a brand has your attention, the next step is convincing you it's worth it. The easiest way is to associate their product with quality. The text "Swiss made" alone carries significant credibility, especially if you ignore that many manufacturers source components from factories outside of Switzerland. Proprietary language is a really popular way to increase the perceived quality too. Terms like Rolex's oyster steel sound exclusive, but it really is nothing more than 904L steel, an alloy that is both not unique to the brand and it is actually softer than the industry standard 316L. Omega's Moonshine Gold, Grand Seiko's high-intensity titanium, and Chopar's Lucent Steel are other examples of these proprietary materials. This language shows itself constantly in the industry, and the more confusing and complex it is, the more people default to trusting the brand. If it sounds technical enough, it must be meaningful. Certifications work in a similar way. COSC or MEDAS certifications signal precision and quality in their own right, and they are impressive, but they also work as powerful marketing tools. Their entire inception was a reaction to compete with the incredible accuracy of Japanese watches in the 70s and 80s. And today, MEDAS certification has a requirement that a watch must be Swiss-made to achieve its status. It serves as a way for the Swiss watch industry to elevate themselves above those outside of it. For most people, the difference in accuracy doesn't matter day to day, but that status still feels important and makes the watch seem more quality. And even complete nothing burger updates to existing models get framed as being significant with this marketing language. New, improved. I'm obviously looking at Tudor here and their advertising of the Black Bay 58 GMT as a new model at Watches and Wonders, despite its release 2 years prior. And of course, this came with an increased price. And part of that is because price itself becomes part of the product. These days, it seems that every brand is trying to move upmarket into a new price bracket. A large part of this is increased profits, but from an advertising perspective, it's the market positioning that's important. A higher price signals quality, exclusivity, and legitimacy, and brands increasing that price changes what they're compared to. Think of it like the cheerleader effect. Being compared amongst higher end competition legitimizes your place among them. Grand Seiko's new UFA divers are being priced at around $12,000, which by no mistake is in the same price bracket as Rolex's Submariner. As such, I've already seen tons of comparisons between these two models online. There's no doubt that Grand Seiko is aware that positioning themselves in range of one of the world's most famous watches has this effect. This works in the opposite way too. A Tudor looks reasonable next to a Rolex when you see the price. But of course, Rolex owns Tudor. This is intended. Within conglomerates like Swatch Group, brands are positioned specifically as to not overlap with another, and to create a ladder of aspiration, if you will. A Tissot seems more justifiable than a Longines, and a Longines more so than an Omega. But you're always provided with an avenue of aspiration to one day move up the rungs to the next price tier. To your average consumer, they may not even know that all three of those brands are owned under the same roof, and that this competition is actually a strategy. The buying experience only reinforces all of this as well. Luxury boutiques are designed to feel less like a transaction and more like an experience. You set up an appointment, drink champagne, and the atmosphere makes it seem like you're the one being catered to. It makes the price of the watch feel more justified, and normalizes the purchase in your mind. Then you have influencers and the social media element affecting the perceived value of brands. There's a reason hype brands skyrocket over the last decade. They become interlinked with the idea of status and success. You have finance TikTokers getting popular talking about watches, flipping watches on 47th Street, and constantly connecting them to their market value. Those sorts of influencers contribute directly to this feeling of brands being great investments, and normalize spending tremendous amounts of money on them. And these are often the same sorts of dealers that benefit directly from this community mindset. They secure backdoor sales from ADs and sell for a profit on the gray market. Always question the motives of these sorts of people. And add in celebrities, sponsorships, and cultural associations, watches become an element of identity, subconsciously connected with talented and intelligent people. It's all part of increasing the perceived value and quality of what they're selling, about convincing you that it's worth it, and to choose their product over others. All the while this is happening, it's no coincidence that you are likely already feeling the urge to buy, like it was just the right time. Brands spend a lot of time optimizing the timing of their announcements and releases. Releases are timed carefully, big announcements are at key times, and others are staggered throughout the year to keep products in the spotlight longer. Touching on Grand Seiko's new UFA divers again, think back to the year prior when they originally announced the UFA Caliber, with essentially one color and model. It wouldn't be until 6 months later that we would even see another variation, and a full year to get several others. I'm sure there could have been manufacturing constraints, but these releases were almost certainly drip-fed. One big drop would have faded quickly, while staggering keeps the brand in conversation throughout the year. Another aspect of this timing is the positioning of the announcements around competition, events, and when you're most likely to buy. Zin's first appearance at Watches and Wonders was this year, and in order to avoid comparisons and the competition of the larger brands, they announced all of their new models weeks earlier. Many releases and sales are oriented around holidays and year-end bonuses too, to catch you when you've got the money to spend. The timing of releases is just a minor aspect of the urgency tactics the industry uses though. The real pressure comes when you're actually close to buying. The nuances here really show themselves in how brands and ADs interact with the customer to influence a purchase. All things considered, luxury watches are relatively uncommon in the general population, and those that buy them likely don't discuss them much with people they know. The person you're going to be discussing watches with most in person is usually the same one whose job it is to sell you the watch. They tell you what you want to hear, are overly positive, and are often quick to get their sale. I've had reps ask me if they should box up a watch for me after I tried it on for 15 seconds. A talented salesman will act as if every watch is their favorite and an amazing choice. You've got so many options, and eventually you get decision fatigue and you just want to give in and say yes. You hear it all the time. I went in wanting watch A and came out with watch B. It takes a special amount of manipulation to convince someone to spend their thousands of dollars differently in just a few minutes. Pricing is a part of this too, where in a meta sense, the knowledge of inevitable price increases fosters a fear of missing out in buyers. 80s will mention offhand that if you want one, now is the best time to buy. We've been told the price is increasing soon. Even if it is true, it's definitely a tactic used to give a now or never feeling. It creates urgency. The same applies for limited editions. The rep will always be sure to tell you that they only have just that one, and that it's very desirable. It's also not an accident that the most desirable colorways and variations end up being limited, which only drives up the demand even more. None of us are impervious to these tactics, myself included. Just recently, I was extremely close to entering the lottery for the Mad 2, in large part because of my fear of missing out on it. I saw videos from last year's lottery, which I'm sure were sponsored by MB&F. And when this one came around, the scary part is that it didn't really feel like I was even being sold the watch. It felt like I was about to miss out if I didn't sign up. Ultimately, I decided I had no business buying that watch right now, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't seriously considering it. Finally, we have the most infamous urgency tactic, scarcity and the associated AD games. Any brand that can get away with it is using waitlists, requiring prior purchasing history to get what you want. It's a win-win scenario for these companies for three main reasons. 1. You're being convinced into buying more than you would ever have otherwise. 2. It creates a now or never moment when you do finally get the call. It's the ultimate leverage. 3. It allows them to sell all the undesirable watches and clear out inventory of pieces no one actually wants. If there ever was a brand that was an expert at marketing and brand image, it'd have to be Patek Philippe. The slogan, "You never own a Patek," is a classic in quality association. The previous generation of Calatravas discontinued in 2022, specifically the 5196G, are a perfect example of this. This watch is about as simple as you can get. Hand wound, solid caseback with no finishing, nearly no water resistance, no complications, and with an extremely restrained design and finish. It's solid gold, but white gold, which looks remarkably similar to steel. And yet, this watch sells for over $20,000. If Omega released this exact watch for that price, people would say they're completely insane. But when it's Patek, the Holy Trinity, suddenly no one bats an eye. And that's because of how they've positioned themselves as a brand over the years, and their association with such high luxury. This Calatrava is a very if you know sort of watch. It has its logical merits for sure. The design is peak refinement, it's extremely thin, and they're said to be very accurate. But you're buying this for the name on the dial, because of what that represents and the carefully curated image. When you put everything together, the desire, perceived value, and urgency, you start to see the system. You were guided the entire way into buying the watch you wanted. From when you first saw it, to learning about it, to wanting it, to finally buying it. Every step was influenced and controlled. By the time you were standing at the counter, it felt like your decision. But a ton of that decision wasn't made by you. We all like to think we can avoid these tactics. None of us are immune to propaganda. Psychological tricks work for a reason, and it's all the more justification to be skeptical of what you see, and to ask what someone has to gain from what they're telling you. Consider, why do I want this? Because the more aware you are of why and how, the better you can actually make that decision your own. And if you found this video interesting, might I guide you to watch last week's video if you haven't already? It ties into many of the topics I covered about marketing and asks a difficult question. Is watch collecting actually a hobby or just consumerism? Thank you for taking the time to watch.